Hey everybody, this is Rex Carroll from Whitecross. I play the lead guitar, and you are kicking it with the rock interview series. Tune it in, crank it up, and burn down the neighborhood.
Welcome to the Rock Interview Series with host Thomas S. Orwatt Jr.
Welcome to episode number 99 of the Rock Interview Series. I'm Thomas Orwatt Jr. It is April 18th, 2024, and for this feature, I have guitarist, songwriter, producer Rex Carroll of the Christian rock band Whitecross as my guest. During this interview, Rex talks about the new Whitecross record entitled Fear No Evil, which is the band's first full-length studio release in almost 20 years. In addition, we discuss the past history of Whitecross, which formed in 1985, and we also talk about Rex's other bands, King James and Fierce Heart. So here he is, Rex Carroll. Hey everyone, welcome to the Rock Interview Series, and this is episode number 99. So we're going to celebrate by interviewing one of the greatest guitar players on the face of the earth, and that's Rex Carroll of the band Whitecross. Rex, thank you very much for being part of the celebration, 99 episodes.
99 episodes. How cool is that, man? It's so you must have been doing this for a very long time to get to that point.
Yeah, well, even before this, I started in 1988. So like I'm one of the old guys, and just keep
Yeah,
plugging away. Yeah, so
that's really cool because we've been doing the Whitecross band since 1985. So that puts us right at about the same era.
yeah. And let me tell you, you just released a brand new record called Fear No Evil, which is absolutely incredible. Your first record in about 20 years. And
Yeah.
my first question is, why did you make your fans wait so long for a follow-up record?
Well, because you'd have to just know the ins and outs of the history of the band. You never start out with thinking, "Oh, well, we're just gonna just go away and not do anything." It's not like that at all. Um, we toured very heavily from for the release of our first album, and then in 1994 there was a health issue in my family. I had to take time off for that, so I had to leave the band at that point, and they carried on with a couple different guitar players, and then we came back together in the year 2000, and and we came back with a bang. People, it was like yes, the band is back because the core members, myself and Scott Wenzel, the original lead singer, and then unfortunately we coasted. We tried to do in 2005. We tried to do a new album. So I thought, well, let's because at that point it was like, well, we don't know if Scotty can still sing anymore. It was an unknown. So, and we didn't have a record label at that point. Um, and as you know, times before the broadcast, we were just discussing that, the musical landscape was not kind towards groups from the 80s. If you were popular in the 80s, and you were very unpopular in the 90s and the 2000s. So we didn't know what was going to happen. So we thought, well, let's just try um, a re-recording of the first album. And if that goes well, then maybe we can springboard from that to an all new album. So we got through that remake album, and that was it. We couldn't really work on any new material after that. So then we just coasted, and I'd say we gave it everything we had. Um, the bus kind of arrived in the station, so to speak, and the set list was just progressively getting shorter, and there's no new songs coming, and there was just creative differences and personality differences, and it just got to the point where, okay, well, we've given so much of ourselves, we don't have anything left to give in this configuration. And the turning point came in 2019 when we had the opportunity to go to India, which for me personally, that was a historic opportunity. So the vote was, um, unanimously from the group that we all wanted to go very badly, and the lead singer did not want to go at all. He vetoed it. So we said, well, we really feel that we need to go. So we got a guest vocalist just for that trip, and then as it turned out, that was the end of working with Scotty in the band. So at that point, then we came back from that and we tried things out with David Roberts, and we took our time getting to know him and feeling him out musically. And I wanted to spend a lot of time with him. I mean, when you change a lead singer, that's pretty. You're messing with the formula that got you to where you are. And in fairness, Scotty was a wonderful, iconic singer, truly the voice of a generation, right? I mean, if you were there for those first albums in 1987, 88, 89, man, there was some epic vocals. On his best days, I thought Scotty could sound like a cross between Brian Johnson, maybe, and Ozzy. Just really iconic singer. But we just had too many differences of opinion, and it got to where, I'm afraid to say anything. It's like, oh, something's going to set him off, and then we're all walking on eggshells around each other. And it's like we can't be a band this way. So, bringing Dave in, and so Scotty is more or less retired at this point. Now, I don't know if he's working on any new projects. People have asked me, hey, yeah, we want to do a thing, but we're looking for a singer. I said, well, call Scotty, and I pass out his number. And so I know that some people have contacted him, but I don't know that he's necessarily working on anything right now. And Dave just came in, and we're cut from the same musical cloth. He's to my ear personally. Well, first when I heard him, I thought, man, this guy sounds like a baby David Coverdale. And people have said, oh, he reminds them of Coverdale, Ronnie James Dio, Jeff Tate from Queensryche, or Sammy Hagar, and we have the same musical influences from Led Zeppelin to Deep Purple and the whole 80s thing. And the new record sounds like musically, it's like Scorpions or Dokken or Van Halen, Motley Crue. It's just we're a product of the times that we came up in. But the production of the album is very modern. It's right in your face, and the sound on the record is great. So has great sonics to it. Stylistically, we have our influences, and so it wasn't like we were just, now when after David came into the band, that just kind of reopened the doors for the creativity. And then it took about 2 years to work on the album. But it took longer than that because, everybody lost years, everybody lost a couple of years during the COVID lockdowns, so we all lost time there. Everybody's sitting around trying to figure out what to do. So that's, so I kind of started working on new music then, and that's 2024, and the record has finally come out, and now here we are, and we're doing shows, and we feel like we're right back where we need to be. Only now it's like we're not just like playing out the string, so to speak. We're full of energy and excitement and enthusiasm, and we're thinking about ways, okay, how can we improve the show? What can we do to make it, bigger, better, louder, faster, longer, higher, jump higher, do all those things. So we want to put on a great show, and we're excited about it.
Yeah, the record Fear No Evil is absolutely just mind-blowing. I heard it for the first time and like, holy shit. And I went back and listened to your entire catalog and kind of remembered, yeah, that Rex Carroll, he's a monster on guitar, and he's even better than ever before. And I have to mention your guitar work on it is just super impressive on this release. And
Well,
especially Of course, we're going to have to talk about Jackhammer. I mean, that's insane. That's up there with, Eddie Van Halen's Eruption. That is absolutely incredible.
Well, in 1977, I was a freshman college student. Yes, I have a college degree. It took me 5 years to get a 4-year degree, but well, all's well that ends well, right? At least it ended. I passed. Um, I worked on a music degree, and I was at a college campus bar, and somebody goes on the jukebox and puts on, and I had heard about Van Halen. I'd heard about them, and I hadn't heard them yet, and I'd heard Eruption was the single into that you really got me. Um, and Van Halen, their version of the song is so famous now that people just assume, oh, yeah, they wrote that song, right? No, it's by the Kinks. But man, I heard that, and my jaw hit the floor. I was devastated. It was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. So immediately the next day, I had to run to the campus bookstore and purchase, all the Van Halen. And I think at that point they had a couple albums out, and then they were just releasing their third album. So I was a little behind the curve um, on that, but wow. So I thought, well, if Eddie does a guitar solo on every album, because then their second album came out and he had a little short acoustic solo on that one. And I thought, okay, so if this is what Eddie's doing, well, this is now, this is the bar that must be cleared. And people today, guitar players coming up today, they hear, well, Van Halen, they've been on the radio, I was like, yeah, my grandpa used to listen to them. They just don't have the if you were there at the time, I imagine it was like if you were like a young person in 1967 seeing Jimi Hendrix for the first time. Just mind blowing. And nowadays we'll hear a Hendrix song in classic rock radio in your car on the way to the supermarket, and and you don't think anything of it. Oh yeah, it's there. I've heard that 14 times already. So it doesn't do anything to you. But if you were there to see it when it happened, and then so anyways, bottom line is I thought, well, if it's good enough for Eddie, it's good enough for me. So if he does a solo on his albums, then I have to do one on mine. And it was always that kind of thinking for me. It's like there was never any question for me. This is what I'm going to do with my life. I'm going to make records and be in a band and go on tour, and that was the whole thing for me. I knew that was what I was going to do. So and so I've tried to keep up with that, and then it's a lot of pressure. But the kind of the cool thing about it is, so the original idea was the inspiration and the homage to Eddie. Well, if he will do it, I will do my best to keep up. But it's more of a homage, and it's a tribute, to the king, right? He's the king of guitars. So it started out that way, but it's also over time it has sort of become my little calling card too. People know that when I put out a new album out, there will be a guitar solo on it, so people kind of know that that's coming, and you know that it's going to be there, and then hopefully I do a good job on it.
Yeah, well, like I said, you did an amazing job on it. Are you guys planning on doing any major touring in support of this record?
Well, so by 2018, 2019, we had kind of lost a lot of momentum. And then there was the COVID years, and then starting up again with the new lead singer, David Roberts. So we've kind of taken things step by step, and we've started gigging again. Now this year so far has been our best, like we're getting back on track with the live shows, and we've had the opportunity to go out and open for Petra several times. So we've really enjoyed that, and that has been great for us. And since March 22nd, when the record came out, it's been selling really great just at the merch tables, selling a lot of copies. We're selling about like 10% of the audience, and even if we're like the opening band, we're still selling 10% of the audience. So that's a really good number. So the numbers are there, the fans are there, and we have more dates. We're off right now, but we're moving into like some summer festival dates, and so we'll be doing those. And we're starting to play overseas again. Um, Going to Europe is really fun because the Europeans they really like this kind of music too.
Yeah, I always thought that a White Cross Striper tour, I mean, I'm sure you've heard that before, would be outstanding. Has that ever come along over the years? I know you played a couple shows with, I mean, you played, some off dates with them, but not an actual tour.
Yeah, well, I think you are about 4,000% correct. So somebody go, tell Michael Sweet that, hey, this would be a good idea. You guys should bring Whitecross out and talk to their manager and, let them know that they should give us a call. I certainly have talked to their manager like several times. And, it's in the past, it's kind of dangled a little carrot in front of me. And it's like, they don't seem to really be interested in it. So it's not something that I think about, but it is a question that comes up in interviews such as this one. But it's very logical. That would be great. We would be a very compatible bill with what they're doing. Um, but who knows? If
Yeah.
God wills it to be, then it will be.
Do you think because of the fact that you're a Christian band, do you think that sometimes hurts you as far as, bands wanting to tour with you because of that? Do you think you've lost some
Mm,
opportunities because of that?
I don't know that that's necessarily true. I mean, we have an agent right now who's working on stuff for us, and there are tours going out that hey, do you guys want to go out with Queensryche? Is one of the ones I heard about. And I've even heard about some shows with Creed. Do you guys want to go out and open for Creed? I'm like, yeah, that'd be a great fit for us. Um, but then when you dig into the fine details, you find out, oh, well, every one of these tours is a buy-on. Oh, it's pay to play. Oh, we're back to that again. It's like, no, I'm sorry, I'm past that point. I'm not paying, I'm not shelling out, unless there's a major label that believes that they can sell. So no, this is a worthwhile investment for you guys because we think you'll sell 100,000 albums by opening for this group, and let the record company, if they want to spend the $50,000 or whatever it is, the obscene amounts of money to buy your way onto a tour, you know, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
I,
I mean,
I would
really,
love, I would love to tour with some of these bands, yes, but not at the expense of paid to play. It's like, no, we
yeah,
don't.
that almost seems insulting for, somebody
It
that's been
is,
around
it
as,
is kind of, but I mean, well, hey, it's just business. And
yeah.
well, all the other bands are doing it, we're doing it too. It's like we've never charged another band for the privilege to open for White Cross. It's a little presumptuous. And like you say, it's a little insulting. You've worked all these years on developing your craft and honing your craft, and then so now you have to pay for the opportunity to present your craft. Yeah, it's nonsense. We're not going to do
Uh,
it.
I want to talk about some of the songs on the record. Of course, we mentioned Jackhammer again, and you always, trying to have that little like Eddie Van Halen
Yep.
inspired solo on there. When you record something like that, I is that a first take, or are you like, spicing it together? Or I mean, that's
That
pretty
was a first
impressive.
take. That was a
Was it
first
really?
take. This is a
Wow.
first take right here.
First band that I know that you were in, Fierce Hearts.
Mhm.
They were out. That band was formed before White Cross,
Yes, it was.
and you came out like flying as far as a guitar player right out of the gate with the very first track on the Fierce Heart record, Echoes, is just all guitar, just like guitar madness. I mean, so from the very moment that you became known, I mean, you were just going for it, is becoming, with this guitar hero type of intro to your first record.
Well, why would you want to be anything else? I mean, I've met guitar players who want to be just, well, my goal is just to be a guitar player in a band. Well, there's no fun in that. I guess there is, but let me put it this way: I don't want to be Brad Whitford. I want to be Joe Perry. I want to be the guy who's out in front. Uh, I don't know. Why? Uh, well, why be the rhythm guitar player when you can be the lead guitar player?
Yeah. I mean,
And then there's something about, when there's like when you get everything turned up loud and you just play a note and it resonates in the room. It's like, whoa, it's just, and it's a beautiful thing. And you feel that sound just bouncing off the wall and coming back, when you're in a big room. Um, and then you fill up the room with people and they're there and you all get to experience this together. And then, then I get to pick the next note, and then I'm going to play this little round, and then I'm going to do this thing over here. And I can feel it in the room and it's bouncing off the wall and people are experiencing the sound with me. It's like, wow. So I'm for 20 seconds that I'm doing my little guitar solo, I'm your tour guide and I'm taking you on this journey and I'm not sure where it's going either, but I'm taking you from point A to point B, and then it's part of the song and it's part of your memory. From, oh yeah, I saw him back in such and such, and man, he played this and he played that, and people have their memories of it, and like, how cool is it to be part of that? I mean, it's pretty awesome.
yeah. Yeah, it's when as far as Fierce Heart goes, what led to you forming Whitecross then so soon after that band was formed?
Well, there's a common misconception. Oh, Rex played in Fierce Heart, and then he got saved, and then he was Christian after that and started Whitecross. That's a convenient, plausible explanation, but it wasn't quite like that. I mean, I was dabbling with Christian music before that when I was a student on campus. I actually had a Christian rock group on campus, and it was a forerunner. And then right after I had gotten to the end of my school days, I had read in a magazine that David Coverdale was looking for new guitar players for the group Whitesnake. I thought, oh boy, oh boy, and that was like one of my favorite bands at the time. Um, I thought, well, I'll hate myself forever if I don't try to do something about it. So I was like Marty McFly in Back to the Future. Well, I gotta make a tape of myself playing guitar. I have to send it in to the record company. So that's exactly what I did. I made a cassette tape of myself playing the guitar, 2 songs, just mailed it to the address on the back of the cover, and I was like, well, I'm glad I did that. And it was kind of like a made for TV movie. Next thing you know, like 3 or 4 weeks go by, and my phone rings, and it's not only it's the A&R department from Atlantic, it's the head of A&R, Mr. Jim Dellahan. There's nobody above him. He doesn't have to ask permission from anybody else. He goes, well, I like this. I want to, he says, are you in a band right now? And I said, no. He said, let's build a band around you. I was like, you're kidding me. And I got so nervous, my hands started shaking and I dropped the phone on the floor. Fortunately for me, it bounced. I thought it was going to shatter into a million itsy bitsy pieces, but it didn't. And then, so then I got to work with Larry Elkins, who is a great singer, horrible human being, but great singer. And he knew things about songwriting that I didn't. He's like, I'm not about to share my hard-won knowledge with a rookie like you. And it's like, well, he didn't have to because I'm a student of the game. I just watched him writing songs and he took like my guitar riffs and organized them into logical progressions, and I was like, oh, that's how you do it. So I learned, like keep your mouth shut, keep your ears open, keep your eyes open, and pay attention, and you'll learn things, right? And so I learned the whole thing, get talking to the A&R, which is the talent scout, and he really trained me to play guitar. Like we're in the studio, and he's like, "Stop the tape! I can't hear that note that you're playing." Oh, you mean this one that we're playing at like 6,000 decibels in the studio right now? You can't hear it, huh? He says, "Well, you're not playing it in a way that it will project out of the song and force people to pay attention to it." I was like, "Oh, you mean like this?" And I just exaggerated like I was clowning around. He goes, "Yeah, more like that." And I was like, "Really?" So I learned so many things. Learned about contracts, learned about how to be in the studio. I'd never been in a studio before. So I learned all kinds of skills that became invaluable to me when we started Whitecross. I always knew that I wanted to have like a Christian rock band in spite of, well, I said, whether or not we go on to fame and fortune as Fierce Heart, if that happens, I'll still want to do something with a Christian band. So as it turned out, that record, it just kind of got to a certain point and then it stopped. And then I met Scotty, the original lead singer, and we started working on the band. And thank goodness for my experience that I had gained, because it all came in handy, because then I knew what to do more or less in the studio, and then we built it from there. So I don't know, and then in 2020 we were able to release Fierce Heart Volume 2 after 35 years away. And that was just a fun project for me. Um, there was a bunch of songs that the record label had rejected, and I went back and listened to the demos, the original demos from 1986, and I thought, oh, these are actually very good. We should just put this out just because. So we did, and then from there we moved on, and it's on to Whitecross. So
Okay.
nothing, things usually happen as, well, you did this and that led to this other thing and that led to this other thing. So sometimes you have like two or three things going on, but it's not like a conscious decision. It's not like you just sit there and plan out on a whiteboard with a grease pen. First we're going to do this, then we're going to do this, and then next year we're going to do this. I mean, you decide all those things. Um, John Lennon said, "Life is what happens while you're busy making other plans." And, then there's, lest we forget, well, if God wills it, if what I like to say now is, well, if the Lord don't come back and if the creek don't rise, then maybe we'll get to do this or that. And it's always depends on, pray about everything and see if God's in it.
Yeah.
And just try to be pleasing to the Lord in everything that I do, anyways. So that's my attitude towards all of it.
Yeah. I want to talk about another project you did. King James you did with Robert Sweet and Timothy Gaines of Stryper in '94 after Stryper broke up, after Michael Sweet left Stryper. What was it like working with those two guys?
Well, actually, that project was myself and Jimmy Bennett, and it just so happened that Whitecross had been on a European tour for a couple of weeks with a couple of bands, and Stryper was on that tour, and they were performing as a trio with Oz Fox, Timothy Gaines, and Robert Sweet. And so Jimmy said, "Well, why don't you call Robert, since you got his number? Why don't you just call him up, see if he'd be interested?" So I did, and he said, "Yeah." It was that simple. And he said, "Hey, while you're at it, if you're interested, if you want Timmy, dude, Timmy's probably available." So we called Timmy, and he came in too. So I was like, "Great." Um, so we were not trying to deliberately create a super group. And as you know, super groups usually for whatever the reason is, they usually don't sound very good. When you see like all the stars get together to make the celebrities get together to make a record together, and it usually doesn't never sounds that great. I don't know why that is, but um, we looked at it as more like, well, we have our band here, King James, and it just so happens that we have Robert and Tim from Striper. And I think in the back of my mind, I always knew, well, they're sort of like on loan from Striper. So not surprisingly, they went back to Striper and we recruited other guys to play. So that's but we did the King James album, and again, learning process, many things I learned in that album. Um, but it was great. It was a great time.
Yeah, I was surprised that it didn't last longer because I mean it took a while for Stripers to reform, and I felt that at that time, Robert was pretty anxious to, get back into a band, a good
Yeah.
band. Yeah.
Yeah, Robert, I think that it was mutually beneficial. We had a sort of a unique friendship at that time that was based on we're both coming from a place of feeling some degree of hurtfulness from our previous band situation, and trying to figure out what to do next with your life and those kind of things. And I think we sort of it was a sort of a catharsis type experience for both of us. So it was good. It was a good thing. Um, the band just never really caught on in the fans really have to decide. And back when I did the original Fierce Heart album, well, they put tons of money into it. We had the best producer that money could buy. We had the best studio that money could buy. We had, all the help and, first class, everything. And I lived in a hotel on Times Square for like 6 weeks. It was amazing. But then this record comes out and just kind of did whatever it did. I think it's done better since the original time that it was out. It's sort of gained a little bit of a cult following. I know that it's been bootlegged like 6 times at least. I've counted them. There's a German bootleg, there's a Russian bootleg, there's a couple of American bootlegs. It's crazy. Um, but after that, then we did the White Cross album on a shoestring budget, just a lick and a promise, and just slap it out, slap it together, and put it out there. And next thing you know, word of mouth is a little tiny record label, Pure Metal Records, that it came out on in 1987. And they called me on the phone about 3 weeks after the record had been out. They said, look, just so you know, every record store in America, coast to coast, they've all called back, like where they had distribution. I'm not saying they had that our record was in every record store. That would have been great if it was, because that would have been like we would have had 4 times the sales. But out of all the record stores that our record was in, that our label had access to those stores. Okay, so for them, it was like, okay, every place that we sell records, every single one of them has sold out and they're asking for more, and they have people calling up asking for the record. So every record store that ordered like 3 copies is coming back and ordering 15. Every record store, big record store that ordered 12 copies, they're coming back and asking for 25. Um, and then they sold through again. And then it was just steady after that. That's the word of mouth. And then we played at the Cornerstone Festival. It just so happened that our record came out in the spring of '87. We had worked on it throughout the winter of 1986 and in through the winter months of 87. And then it came out around like May, I guess, of 87. And then we played at the Cornerstone Festival on that July 4th weekend. And that proved to be fortuitous. Glenn Kaiser was a friend of mine from the Res Band. He put in a good word. They put us on a good stage. We got a lot of exposure, and I remember playing the gig, and the people were basically, when we started out, there was a blank look. By the end of the first song, there was like disbelief. The crowd was looking at us like, who are these guys? Why are they so awesome? Why have we not been told about this? Nobody warned me that this was going to happen. And, how come we've never heard about them before? And these are our new, heroes from the 1987 Cornerstone. So everybody took that experience home and told their friends, and then it mushroomed even more from that. And then the calls for the gigs just started pouring in. So then we had to take on an agent to sort out the calls. And then the next thing you know, we were touring straight for like the next 5 years. So that's how that all happened in the beginning.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that's going to happen again when people start hearing this new record.
I hope so. I mean, it's like people are really they're posting about it, and
Yeah,
all the posts have been really great.
great
I know
record.
that it's the best record that I've ever done. I mean, I remember doing the In the Kingdom album, and up until that point, that was the most complete uh, musical experience of making a record. But it was still, the record itself was still driven by the record company, and I tried to get them to understand what a rock band is supposed to sound like. They didn't get it. So we had the In the Kingdom record, which is like, yeah, it's our most successful, sold the most copies out of any record. And there's some good songs on that record too. And we got, the double word for that album and so on. So I'm not knocking that record at all, but I remember when the CD came in the mail and I was like, okay, the acid test. And I put on like the Metallica record and then the Dokken record, and then I put our record on. It's like, no, this does not sound, it doesn't sound like a rock album. Um, that was just very important to me. And so from that point, I got very serious about really teaching myself the art of recording. I went out and I bought books and VHS videotapes about this is how you record a drum kit. This is how you tune a drum kit. Most of it was about the drums. I was very unhappy with the drum sounds. And so I learned this is how you record the drums. And from then until now, it's been like every year learning more and more. And I have my own studio and I do occasional work for clients. Mainly I have the studio so that I can work for myself. And I don't know, when we got to this album, it all came together. And then we were able to bring in my friend Anthony Fox, and there's a long story and a short story, and I'll just give you the short story. Anthony, it turns out that I knew him from like 40 years ago, and I lost touch with him. He went out to LA and became very famous. He did things with Alice Cooper, and then he was in some movies. He was in the Wayne's World movie as the drummer in the band in the movie, and then he started engineering and producing himself and mixing. He's kind of sort of he's everybody's favorite. So we brought him in. I called him and was so happy to get him to mix our album. But the mix was like every day, me and Anthony on the phone. And Anthony would do the work and send it to me. And then I'm like, as the producer, I'm like, well, I like it, but it needs more kick drum. So I just like I wasn't going to relent on anything. Or I would hear things and I go, yeah, that's a legit mix, but I'm not happy with how this guitar thing is working out. So I would just go back and record like some of the songs. I recorded like the rhythm guitar sound like 8 or 9 times, just trying to get the sound right. It's like I am done with albums that just sound less than stellar. I want everything to sound massive, and I think we finally got there.
Yeah,
And
mission accomplished, definitely.
yeah, so having a great engineer like Anthony who has worked with Aerosmith and Metallica and the Dead Daisies, and his list of rock and roll bands is it's on his website. You can see for yourself. Um, all the different people that he's worked with. So he knows what to do. And the two of us working together on my album. So it was really great for me not to have a record company looking over my shoulder, telling me, well, we want this and we want that, and you got to mix the vocal more like this. It's like, dude, just let us do our thing, and when it's done, it'll be great.
Yeah.
And so,
You're not gonna make us wait another 20 years because I'm gonna be like really old if you do for the next White Cross record, are you?
I don't take anything for granted. I, in my own personal Christian life, and when I pray to the Lord and I say things in my prayers like, well, God, thank you for allowing me to make this album, and if this is the last thing I ever get to do, so be it. Thank you, because it's a really wonderful album, and but hopefully, if I get to do another one, I will just continue to work and do another one. And so I'll just keep doing whatever it is that I do until they bury me 6 feet underground and they just put the guitar on top of me, and that's the end of it.
Oh, let's hope that doesn't happen for a long, long time.
I hope not, because the band just feels really great and we're all having like a lot of fun. And we just feel that, man, there's whole new chapters that can be written now. And
Absolutely. I did, like I said, that's, I mean, I heard it for the very first time, and sometimes it takes me a while to, a new record to break in a bit. I have to hear it a few times, but like right from the get-go, it's like, holy cow, this is like this is amazing. And the production is killer. The guitar is just insane. I don't even know how to describe your guitar playing. It's just out of this world. And yeah, I think you definitely deserve much more recognition than you're getting. And I think that, by word of mouth, maybe that's what it's going to be. People are going to start listening to this, and before you know it, the bands are going to be those bands you mentioned will be paying to play a opening for you.
well, I hope not. I mean, I don't want to. I don't like that whole pay to play thing. I think it's bogus and it's disrespectful to the people who put their blood, sweat, and tears into developing their art and their craft. And so I don't want to become a cog in the machine in that way. I want to be seen as like one of the good guys.
Well, you definitely are a good guy, that's for sure. Well, Rex, I really want to thank you for your time, and again, congratulations on this great record. I really hope you guys get out on the road. I'd love to see you guys out in the Western New York area playing over
I'd
here
love
in
to. Yeah,
Buffalo.
I hope so. I hope that happens really soon. So, I just want to say that, you can find all of our music and our tour dates and anything else you want to know about the band at whitecrossband.com. So we couldn't be whitecross.com because, we didn't know what we were doing. We lost our hosting way back, when the internet was a new thing. So now it's whitecrossband.com, and you can find our CD there, and you can stream it on Spotify, and you can listen to it on YouTube. And there's a music video for the song Man in the Mirror. Um, so you can certainly check it out. And what I always ask people to do, if you haven't heard the album, um, just go on YouTube where they post the whole album because YouTube does that. They just arbitrarily help themselves to your work. And then they don't compensate you for it, but that's what they do. So just go on there and just put, just advance the space bar, just put the control anywhere you want in the middle of the record, any song, random. Just start from any random spot and just listen to it and see if the proof is in the pudding, because I really think that it is. So I think we've got a very, very strong album here. And I think you're going to like it. And, to our fans, God bless you. We love you. And we'll see you out there on the road pretty soon.
All right, sounds good. Thanks again, Rex. Take it easy.
All right. You got it. Thanks, brother.
Bye-bye.
All right.
All right, thank you very much, Rex. That was awesome.